Cheers.
Bottoms up.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, good to meet you all.
Hey.
Cheers. I think we should start with some introductions.
Awesome. Go on, I'll kick off. I'm Brandon B, half creator, half CEO of Studio B, digital first production company.
I'm Benji Leslie, CEO of Connect Management, which is the fastest growing social first talent agency in the UK.
That's such a statement.
I know, it's a proper statement. Amongst other things, founder of EMG, which is Evolve Media Group, social first production agency. Got my toe in some football clubs and all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah,
you were
everything
talking
social.
about that just earlier. Just quickly before we digress into anything else, the football club. How did that come about?
Eastbourne Borough. It's a joint venture. Me, my dad, my whole family, we're all getting involved.
Are you actually in it?
Yeah.
I had no idea. You're in it as well?
Yeah.
I thought it was your dad.
No.
Oh, muzzle tov.
See,
This is
funny
news
idea.
to all of us at the same time.
So we've seen the success of Luton and Wrexham and all these different football clubs that are doing great things for grassroots football and also just like influence marketing as a whole. Football is turning into more of a social business than it really is.
And Wrexham are sponsored by TikTok.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
really incredible. I mean, TikTok has the power to sponsor anything they want, but it's
Unlimited
really interesting.
forever. It was in 1 year they sponsored like the Euros. They sponsored, was it that same year as they did Eurovision as well? It was just like back to back.
Just anything that's sponsorable, they'll stick their name on.
You're saying you were going to dive right in, help all the different football players build up their own brands,
Yeah, so
run campaigns for the...
obviously there's different ways to monetize a football club. Traditionally, football clubs are known as money pits. They lose money. Whereas a media business is usually seen as quite a successful, profitable business. So the idea is to mix both football but also player welfare with social media, giving each of the players individual profiles.
Yeah, suddenly just started feeling some like real sway.
We have got the anchor in
You were
place.
so passionate
We are
that
tied
started
down.
happening. I was just like, shit.
So building out the players' individual social profiles, the club social profile, looking at what they can do after football, maintaining players throughout their careers and also focusing a lot on mental health. Obviously, we're very well connected in the influencer world. We're going to get loads of very familiar faces down to the club wearing the shirt all across the country and maybe outside the country as well. Just investing a lot of money back into the club, into the community, and doing some cool stuff. I'm very excited.
Congratulations.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
guys have
huge.
got to come down to a game.
Well,
We definitely will, around Brighton, that's
It's
the
around
area.
Brighton. Yeah, it's about 25 minutes from Brighton.
Perfect,
right
yeah.
on the seaside. Lovely little location.
Amazing.
You can come and have a custard cream in our box.
Yeah.
It's more of a room than a box.
Yeah, it'll get there over time.
You'll get there, yeah. You'll be in the Champions League one day.
Next
Yeah.
season there'll be
Please, God.
heating. Season after that there'll be running water, and it'll just grow from there.
I mean,
I love
the
that.
first change was changing all the players from part-time to full-time contracts.
Yeah, that's
quite
big,
big.
yeah.
Because
They
obviously
need
for
that
it's
security.
National League South, which is the 6th tier of UK football. Most of the players are part-time. Obviously, it's pro football, but it's not profitable enough to live your life off of just a couple £100 a week play football. So the players obviously have other jobs as well. But we're going to turn it all full-time, and there's a lot of very exciting stuff coming in.
Awesome.
Jumping off the back of what you're saying, I think it's so cool that we're now in this. We jumped into social like pretty early on in the game, and now social's sort of grown into this beast where it doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what world you go into, you need that social backing behind
100%.
you in order to fulfill that other job. So then we've come in here as, hey, we've been the guys sitting in. I mean, me personally, I've been in social now for about 7 years. So I've seen this space. I jumped into YouTube before YouTube was cool. I was working in TV originally, and I remember when I left, and all my friends were saying to me at the time, they were like, "Why on earth are you leaving your cool job in TV, traveling around, shooting with like A-list celebrities, to go and work with YouTubers who don't have a following?" And I was like, "Because that's the cool thing to me."
Yeah.
And now we're in this world where like the biggest brands in the world, big football clubs, athletes, like every single sector outside of social media is relying on socials because they understand the power that they can harness from it.
If you think back to you 7 years ago, did you think you would be sat here talking in the panel that you were this morning, for instance?
I always, even from a young age, like I wanted to be an actor at one point. Even from a young age, like I always knew I was going to do something big and cool because I was just always definitely like a kid filled with ADHD. Like I've just got so much energy and I love bouncing around.
That's awesome.
I definitely didn't expect it this quick.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the amount of things that have happened in such a short period of time. Like the biggest highlights are working with like my absolute childhood favorite dream brands in the world, like Disney and Pixar, creating content for them as a production partner, and getting to travel the world, go to like places like Cannes or Egypt to party next to the pyramids for a work event, and like doing tons of stuff like that. Never expected all of that in such a short period of time, but it's because we sort of like went all in as social had this huge boom. And Benji and I sort of like, we'd call every night during 2020 from like March onwards, when like we really kicked off like hammering home this social world, and it was like, cool, things are changing very fast. TikTok is now blowing up extremely quickly. Let's go all in on this. Let's put our blood, sweat and tears into making this work. And as that was happening, TikTok was also putting their blood, sweat and tears by sponsoring every event possible and trying to blow up the platform. So we were giving it everything we've got, whilst they were giving it everything they got. And then thankfully we all just grew together and we're all sitting here on a yacht in Cannes.
I think what's quite special about social media and the evolution is, you know, when I started Connect, I'd have to go into these big corporate businesses and pitch why they should be using TikTok or Instagram or YouTube as a platform. That's not a conversation anymore. It doesn't happen. I go into meetings and it's, okay, how do we use these platforms and how do we basically deliver ROI off the back of our campaigns? It's very easy as a marketeer to sit there and go, cool, we're going to use TikTok. Great. What are you going to do? Are you going to use creators? Are you going to create user-generated content? There's so many different angles that you can go down.
Some of these brands said that they want to develop their own in-house team to develop a social media presence, or are they just, listen, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, we need you guys to help us?
I think there's two elements. So from a Connect perspective, it's very much sitting down and planning from ideation of what the campaign is going to look like, what creators we're going to use and why, what does each creator bring to the campaign that's different, and also delivering high quality content. From an Evolve point of view, which is the production agency, we do have an in-house team which essentially provides an always-on service that becomes part of your brand. They will sit in your marketing meetings, your strategy meetings, and actually decide, okay, what is our strategy going forward on social? Do we want to become like a Ryanair and just banter the hell out of everybody that follows us and just become this place where people, everybody goes and say like, oh, we should be like Ryanair. It always comes up Ryanair. Or do we want to be more corporate and post like really fine details about our products, which doesn't work, by the way. So there's lots of different ways, and it's not just about creating content about a product. It could be creating content that engages an audience and slowly dripping them the products rather than just throwing it in the face. But as a consumer, I buy stuff on TikTok all the time. Like TikTok Shop is so easy. You see something in a video that you like, you click on the little basket, you Apple Pay, and it's at your house in 2 to 3 days. I've wasted so much money, and that's like,
they got you.
It shows that it works, and if they did that on every platform, people would just be spending their money.
In those different services that you just went through, where do you find you're adding the most value? Like, what bits are your clients happiest?
I mean, when we can offer the full 360, there's obviously a higher return on investment because we understand social media like the back of our hand. So when we're creating the concept, selecting the right talent, producing the content, posting the content at the right times, putting amplification behind it to the right audiences, not just hiring an amplification agency that's just going to spend all the budget on the UK with no targeting. There's so many different stages to the process that if you have an agency that does amplification, an agency that does production, an agency that procures the influencers, it's always going to be messy. You know, so it's almost what we've created is an in-house team of people, but freelance, if that makes sense. So it's like a bolt-on to your business. We run everything, and we make sure everything's in working shape and order without you actually having to hire employees. It's just
it's like a one-stop shop for everything.
I think what's something we always say is that the goal between us is to basically run the full vertical. So it doesn't matter where you lie in that marketing spectrum, whatever you're looking for, we can sort of run something that's going to operate all the way across, all the way through, finding your influencers, creating the content, running your socials, all to finding that perfect customer to then convert on it.
You described like missing steps in between as like it can get messy.
Yeah.
Would you say it's like the knowledge sharing, having that same vision? Is it like knowing how to work with certain people? What makes it challenging when you're multiple?
I think it's
teams working
more
together?
so if you like compare it to something simple like cooking. If you've got 5 different people in a kitchen all preparing different bits of a meal, that meal is going to end up like an absolute mess because it's multiple different visions all coming into one end product.
Yeah.
So what, as a marketeer, what I would be looking for is, okay, if I've decided on an idea, why would I want multiple different people to come in from different angles and then try and replicate what the initial idea is without understanding it?
Yeah.
And something that when we sit down for hours and hours and come up with these ideas that we know is going to go viral on social, to then ruin the production by shooting it. For example, one easy mistake is hiring somebody that has a TV background to shoot the content, and then you end up with a piece of content that doesn't sit cleanly on TikTok. So suddenly you've got the right idea, the right influencers, the right strategy, shit piece of content, doesn't perform.
Yeah.
And that's just from one step. Same way, unbelievable idea, wrong influencers that attract the wrong audience, brilliant piece of content, still doesn't perform. So every step along the way, you've got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Go on, I'll go on the more brutal side of that. So if you wanted to look at like optimizing your cash on it, you're going to lose out on more money by running it through multiple businesses because every time you work with a different company, well, they've got their fee on top. So you're then working with like 8 markups rather than just the one production fee or the one agency fee on the top, rather than 8 different fees individually that then, I mean, you're probably losing 40 to 60% of the budget.
That extra time for them to be able to coordinate with one another as well.
Exactly.
What do you see as like real opportunities for the influencer marketing space in the short-term horizon and the long-term horizon?
It's a good question. I would say from a short-term perspective, I think that brands will continue to do what they're doing, which is spending budget in every way they can. They see something that's coming up, for example, I don't know, Women's World Cup's coming up, cool, right, how do we activate female football influencers? That's great, but there's no strategy on the long term, right? So something that I always tell brands when I'm sitting down with them is that it's nice running a really good campaign, but if you're not going to back it up with any substance, it's just still a campaign. For example, how can we create ambassadors for the Women's World Cup this year that we then follow across a journey for the rest of the year? We then keep following it, backing up into the Euros, the training process, right, from the Euros, then we go, right, now we've got another 2 years to the World Cup. How do we use those same ambassadors all the way through, creating the same quality pieces of content, and actually building like a brand.
Like an always-on mindset.
You look at Foot Asylum, for example, who've done that so well by creating Does a Shoe Fit? You know, they've created a platform where now they can get whatever celebs, influencers they want to come onto the show, produces unbelievable content, doesn't talk about anything Foot Locker, but it's just the brand association. You then think, right, I need a pair of shoes, where am I going to go? Oh, well, all the influencers are working with Foot Asylum, so I should work with them.
Oh, if you insist.
And that kind of then feeds back into the long-term strategy is how do we, as, I don't know what you want to call us, innovators in the social space, teach brands how to do that long term, and that's where the education piece comes in, and that's where sitting down with these people and understanding not only what their long term goals are, but how we can slide into it and fit like a glove to deliver the results.
Because
everything will change.
You have like ripple effects from that, right? If you have an always-on ambassador type relationship, you're now building a group of advocates among the creator's audience, which then become many influencers among themselves with their own fans and networks and everything through that.
Just it feels way more authentic that way around. Having like the full support of that creator's network behind them, knowing that they're not, it doesn't just feel like a payout.
Yeah, exactly. Please do this for a month and then never see you again.
I do think we are going to start seeing a huge shift from the singular campaign run to this way wider scope of let's build IP, Foot Asylum is the best example of it. I think brands are now going to be making a big shift from just running these 1 or 2 individuals and just like, you know, hiring a couple of influencers here and there just to run their Christmas campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I actually think brands are going to see like really, really strong and positive ROI on a much longer term spectrum and building communities is by developing their own IP. Actually going, great, what can we run, what can we own that people know as our content, our show, that people go, we are a cool brand because we've established this show.
It's so interesting you use the word IP there. Wait, just to go back and make sure I understood that. Are you using IP in terms of like
assets?
These, of course, intellectual property, but are you using creators and their audiences as like that's the IP of the brand, or how are you?
More the show.
Yeah, so
The show
building
itself.
their own show. For example, does the shoe fit?
But then they build their own advocates that want to be part of the show. And
Exactly. So does the shoe fit? When you think of that show, I think of it as the funny Foot
so the IP is not the audience; it's the show.
It is the show.
Because that's a whole other thing. I was thinking, if you think about advocates beyond that kind of, if they become so invested into your business or your show, or whatever that might be, maybe you can even stretch that so that expression as like they're part of the company now.
Who, the audience?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they're the people funding it and putting it on. But
Right.
it's sort of backing up, and we know this already, that every brand needs to be a media company as well.
You often, like when people describe what is a business, it's a group of people, right? These people drive what that business is. But also very much if you invite an audience to help shape a product, that audience is the product.
Yeah.
So I just see that the IP and audience is like that's like a really cool way of thinking. I don't know, that's not necessarily intentional perhaps with that, but I really like that.
To be honest, it is something that I speak about so much at the moment because I'm so obsessed. I feel like I use IP in almost every meeting that I go into because I'm so obsessed with that is the way brands and creators need to be thinking. I'm even saying it to creators at the moment. They need to stop just making random content in every other video. They should be starting to formulate and go, okay, what is an IP? What is a show that I can create? People will keep coming to me because they know that unique thing is that thing that I do. One of the biggest problems when I speak to creators, and I'm sure Benj can back this up in his world of managing 150 of them, but one of the biggest problems is trying to come up with that next idea, and that's a lot of where the fatigue and the burnout comes from. It's like, damn, I've been doing this day after day, and I have no idea what my next video is, and it's just starting to feel relentless. But then if you develop an IP, you actually create something that people know you for, love you for, then suddenly you've got the idea already. You know exactly what the piece of content it's going to be, but then every episode you're just changing up whether it's the guest or the theme or something small, but the bigger picture is the same. And we only need to look at TV, look at the traditional world. It's what they've been doing for the past 50 years, and it's been working so well, and people have loved it. Let's just bring that into the world of social.
Traditionally, you take I'm a Celebrity, for example. Someone tunes in every single week to watch that, every single night even, to watch that show. You then get brands, Iceland, for example, who've been sponsoring it for years, who pay millions and millions of pounds to sponsor that show. Wouldn't it be cool for Iceland to create their own social format, which is like an I'm a Celebrity, that they own the IP to? They no longer need to pay to sponsor it. If anything, they're getting paid to produce the show. And they own the format.
Do you know the ins and outs of like the contracts that Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have done? Like I've seen stuff like that where they bought,
I don't
like,
know the
their
ins
own
and
IP
outs. I've seen that they get like Messi going
off
to
the IP of this thing. Like Justin
the
Bieber
league,
sold off the IP to like all of his music and made multiple millions off the back of that. Owning your assets in multiple ways is a really important asset.
Yeah.
I think like even like Paris Hilton was on a podcast today, on a panel, sorry.
Yeah.
And she used to say that's hot. Right?
Yeah,
she
tried to copyright
that.
Yeah, or tried to.
Maybe even did.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how you
Copyright.
enforce a copyright on a phrase like that, but she did say it in the chat today.
Regardless of whether she managed to copyright that or not, it shows the intention, right?
Yeah,
to be able to own something like that that's a real thing. It makes you recognizable. People know that you're coming to the show for that kind of thing. I love that you're pushing that through.
Yeah.
How is that like? What's the response been to that?
Slow again. So we spoke about a bell curve before we actually started rolling up on cameras. If you imagine where you pointed, where we were in the bell curve of the big leaps and bounds that we've made as an industry and how far we've gotten so far, where IP and like brands realizing that they need to establish their own IPs, we're all the way back down at the bottom. And it's so far and few that really understand and can harness the power of it.
Feels very innovative to people.
So again, it is something that we are getting there with very slowly and surely, but it is a huge education piece for us right now.
Is this another driver as to why you say like launch Studio B?
So that
own that.
Yeah, of course. That's one of the services that we offer, is like producing long IPs and actually building shows and formats for people. But that's like one side of it. I wish I could say that was the full scale of the business. I wish it was, but unfortunately there aren't enough people buying into that right now. So it is heavily reliant on the campaign side, creating lots of big shoots with lots of big celebrities, getting Tyson Fury down, or shooting stuff with a Tom Holland, or any of the incredible names in the roster that we've managed to shoot some production work with. We did like 11 Premier League football players the other day, which was really good fun.
Yeah,
it's
also you mentioned Tom Holland. Interesting backstory. My girlfriend's mum is his godmother.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day about trying to get them into TV, and I was like, Anna, just introduce Tom Holland. Extremely busy guy. I'm actually going to reserve my conversation with him for getting him to our wedding one day. But if you can make that, Tom, if you're listening,
I hear Tom's a massive fan of this podcast.
You need to go to your god sister's wedding one day.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
But no, great guy.
He was really. It was everything I'd hoped he would be. He was really lovely, really fun to work with. True professional. As soon as we said action, he was just like so deep into his character. I loved it.
Yeah, I think you referenced Spider-Man earlier in your talk with Waither.
Yeah. So just did a campaign with Sony. Promoting Spider-Verse, which is incredible. They flew me out to LA, got to go to the premiere in LA, got to create social assets for them. Yeah, the whole picture was just incredible. I actually got to chat with the VFX supervisor from the film, which for me is like an absolute dream. That's like me meeting a Tom Holland.
I'm super excited one day.
Your expertise is
exactly the VFX world. So from the age of about 12, I became just absolutely obsessed with learning how to create VFX videos. The story started, stole my brother's iPod, downloaded this app that allowed you to put like really, really shit VFX on videos. It's essentially just green screen overlays onto anything you shot. So I would film a video of me standing there and pretending to go like, ugh, and then it would green screen over some like hands shooting guns, and then I'd show like my friends and my family, and everyone would be like, "Oh wow, how did you do it?" Like everyone would pretend like it was really cool.
It's pretty advanced technology.
Yeah. Exactly. That was enough to like ignite this spark in me to make me go like, I love whatever this feeling is, like entertaining people and making people laugh and smile. Whatever that feeling is, I need to replicate it. And I wanted to do it bigger, and I wanted to do it better continuously. So I learned better software. I started downloading all these like really dodgy versions of software, downloading loads of viruses at the same time, until I was like this 14-year-old kid that knew like After Effects and Premiere and Audition, and anyone who doesn't know those softwares, they're like industry standard softwares that my team still use today. And I learned it all at the age of 14 because I became obsessed. And it sort of links into the story of why I was last picked on every football team. It was because I would never go out. And I would, every weekend and every night after school, I'd lock myself in my bedroom and I'd just learn software. So when I started creating content for myself, it was very clear to me what type of content I wanted to make. I had this passion from the age of 12. And when I realized, it was my time to actually start creating content on my own pages, I wanted to reignite that spark and bring that VFX world to life. And thankfully, it only took like maybe 4 or 5 pieces of content until I got my first viral.
That's
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of the word viral, unless you've got...
I was just going to say, like, I hope one day I go viral for something. Maybe this podcast series, who knows? But that must have been an incredible feeling. Maybe for our listeners, how do they find you on social?
Brandon B, everywhere.
Brandon B.
Nice and simple. YouTube,
Perfect.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, a lot. But if I was to give you the power platform at the moment, one platform, brand or even an individual to focus on, I'd probably say right now is YouTube Shorts. I think that's the underdog. Yeah. Everyone's getting all excited and talking a lot about TikTok, and once that ship has sailed, then it's too late. The next hottest and current place that isn't being spoken about as much, but it's got far more viewership is YouTube Shorts. To put it into scale, I think on going very, very rough numbers, on TikTok this month, I think we did about 60 million views, whereas on YouTube Shorts, we did about 560 million views. And on TikTok, there's something like 1 billion active users, whereas on YouTube, there's 1.8 active billion users. So it's like very clear metrics. And I've got one more to add to it, there are less YouTube Shorts creators uploading content than there are TikTok creators. So there's a very clear supply and demand thing. There is clearly far more supply than meets the demand on TikTok, and on YouTube, there is so much demand and so few supply. So if you go all on YouTube Shorts right now,
for eyeballs right now,
you will see so much boost.
It's good to spot those. You get Gary Vee always talking about like the areas where it's cheapest to get attention. What is the word that he uses? He's quite obsessed with eyeballs and like
or cost per view maybe.
No, he doesn't use those.
I know what I love Gary Vee.
I'm trying to think what he says.
I think he uses attention. I think attention is his main word. Like, you gotta go where attention is.
Once everyone's talking about it, I am also like.
Double check after this.
I am also slightly nervous about TikTok.
Remember certain words.
With everything that's going on in the States right now,
of course,
I don't actually genuinely think TikTok will get banned, but I know how cautious advertisers are. Like if an advertiser has ever seen you swear in one of your videos once, there are loads of brands that won't work with you actively because of that.
Yeah, right.
And with that same logic, is it Tennessee has just banned TikTok? One of the states in America has already banned TikTok.
Yeah, we've seen that.
What is the final straw when the mass market of brands suddenly go, I like influencer marketing, but TikTok, it's getting a bit sticky now. Like how many states have to ban it until it starts going on that wider spread? So my advice to like any creator and brand is make sure you are as diverse as possible. Do not just rely on TikTok. You need to get on Shorts, you need to get on Snapchat, you need to get on Facebook, on Instagram. As many platforms as you possibly can, spread.
You had mentioned going like after your 4th or 5th video, you hit your first viral video. Congrats on that, by the way. It's fucking sick. And then you also, in your panel earlier today, spoke about how you had like a formula from the get-go, and that you've always repeated that formula. And you've noticed among other creators that are very successful, they've got something similar. They have their either similar to yours or something else, but what's consistent, they all have a formula. Then you also spoke about how you just can't mess up. Like you're worried about it has to go viral. Every piece of content has to go viral. What's like one, like what is it like living like that, feeling that pressure? Two, other than like hitting that same process that you always do, what else do you do to try and make sure you go viral? How do you stay
and even on top of that, like we spoke about mental health amongst footballers earlier, but online hate, how do you navigate that? Have you been exposed to that before, and what's it like in the mind of it?
We've got. That's 3 questions.
It's great.
I guess my first question was the same as that.
So what's it like being an influencer?
To be honest, I'm very lucky. I get almost no hate. Like I think in my life I've probably skimmed past maybe like between 5 and 10. Very few. So few that when I do see them, I screenshot them and put them in my boys group chat. Hilarious.
I love that.
That's good. Turning a negative into a positive.
It doesn't faze me whatsoever. I think obviously there are some creators that do get quite a lot of it, and I completely can empathise with those people in like those like really heavy scenarios. For someone like me, it would be kind of ignorant for me to get put down by like 0.001% negativity compared to like the mass positivity. So luckily I'm okay. I would say that's more because my content isn't that personality driven. It's mainly just here's this awesome fun video that's just so cool. It's normally creators that reveal and expose a lot of their personal life that then gets a lot of drawbacks, and then people will start unfortunately being very negative around them. So thankfully I've avoided all of that. With the viral side, you said you can never afford to have a failure. That's always the goal. I can't say that's always the output. I wish it was. With branded work, anything that we ever do for clients, that is always the output, that everything is viral, because we will never deviate from the plan. But the only reason the plan works and our viral formula works is because we've done so much experimentation reaction. So I said to Benji the other day, we were speaking about this as we were walking in Cannes, and we've just released a video with Sony. It got 100 million views in 5 days. An absolute banger for us. So we were so happy with that.
Yeah, and just to interrupt there, Paris Hilton mentioned a really big campaign that got 35 million views. So if you're doing 100 million, we've got 3 Parises in front of us.
Just
lost our flag. We probably should get that, Max. Yeah, just before
it could be going into the
goes
sea.
into the sea.
Luckily, we've got all these ropes between.
It's quite windy though, so it might.
I mean, you can't. Now we're here. We can just take it down.
We've tried to brand the boat as much as possible. You can see we've got the pillows, we've got some bags everywhere. We didn't actually tell anyone we'd be doing any sort of corporate event here, but it's a home and an event space, all for the same budget.
Nice. Exactly. Smashed it.
So we've had the pod now for around just about 30 minutes, and you mentioned you had dinner at 9 o'clock. Before we wrap it up, any final points you want to share? Time does fly, yeah. Especially when you're in a yacht and Cannes, it kind of helps.
I think I'll add a little bit to the mental health point, because obviously in this generation, like especially with everything being online and everything almost open to interpretation in any way, like obviously with social media there comes hate, that's just fact. I manage over 150 different talents who all experience hate in different ways. Taking it back to my bread and butter, my background, which is sales. I come from a very boiler room, like sort of headset sales background. That's how I started in the advertising world. That's what it was like. And you know, people say, "Oh, salespeople, you earn loads of money earning commission and this, that, and the other," and then it comes with all the negatives. It's the same with social media. You can earn a ridiculous amounts of money on social media, but there's things that come with that, as well as with anything. You know, you want to be a lawyer. There's however many years of training that you don't earn any good money to get to the point where the good money comes. And I think with social media, you've got to understand that if you're going to give it your all and go for it, you can't let stuff like hateful comments or people not agreeing with what you're doing push you off course. That's why it's so hard to make it as a creator, because only the few that manage to get past that barrier build a successful career. And I've got people that earn great salaries who will receive the most vile messages and comments, but in their head it's at a point where they've got past that barrier, and if that's how you feel, that's great, but just keep your opinions to yourself. So my point would be, with anything there's negatives, and if you want to be successful in life, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to do your profit and losses. You've got to sit there and work out your cash flow. No one enjoys doing that shit. You think, like, I don't enjoy sitting down and paying 160 influencers invoices. You know, I have to sit with the accounts team and approve every single payment to make sure that the numbers are right. And it's you know, that's the negative side of the business.
Exactly.
It's not negative. It's just something that has to be done. And that's my standpoint on it. Is like, if you're going to be successful and if you're going to become that 1% of people, take the good with the bad, and don't expect everything to be rainbows and sunshine and grass is greener over there, because it's not.
No, it's interesting you brought up resilience and correlated that to being a startup founder. Like for the first 3 years at ThisThat's, we said our biggest strengths are being resilient, and there is a lot of shit.
It's all about grit.
And I mean,
whilst we're on a yacht right now, there was a time where we shared a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 guys for a good year and a half, and that was awful. We
had like a month on the bed each, and then a month each, and then rotate. And the other 2 on either side of the bed on the floor. And it was pretty rough times. Like we looked at the finances, and I said, guys, listen, I can afford £500 a month for like indefinite. Like that's all we're gonna get. It went down to 400. I think 1 month we did 300 a month.
And it was 200.
Max was living.
Couldn't even get a bus anywhere.
Yeah, you walk to work, which was like a 25-minute walk. But like, you know, it's all these things. What we learned was resilience. And Gen Z, Gen Alpha get this reputation nowadays for being fickle and, you know, not as like gritty as our grandparents in the world wars. But I think it's still important to recognise that this is a job. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. But being resilient is going to be like the driving factor.
Recently describe it as like, if you see it as a game, you don't lose if you don't give up. If you keep playing, game keeps going.
Yeah. And if you keep playing on amateur, you're never going to get any better.
Yeah, true. Yeah, surround yourself with
pros. Play on the professional, and then you get to the legendary, and then you get to the world class. And that takes time. Nobody turns a video game on and suddenly is a master. Nobody starts a business and instantly makes millions of pounds.
Something you'll find difficult at the beginning. One day you'll think that's super easy.
And it's great to have mentors around. I think Cannes a great place for this. Like bumping into founders of successful companies, people that have exited, gives you that like aspiration that you can do it. But what's really nice is people do give back. So there's plenty to learn from successful creators, successful entrepreneurs, and just take their advice and move forward. I think that's the best thing to do. Go to events and interact with people that have done it before.
My last note on this I could talk about influencer for like days on end, but I would say the most successful creators and the ones that are making it are the ones that are focusing on IP and brand. So the people that are building teams around them, okay, can I hire a cameraman? Can I hire an editor? Can I hire somebody who writes my scripts for me so that I can be in multiple different places at once, reinvesting back and treating their pages like a business? Those are the guys that are actually driving and growing year on year. The people that are just sitting there creating the same content are monetizing, but how long does that monetization last? You know, what happens if TikTok gets banned? Cool, you've lost a massive stream of revenue that you've done nothing about, right? And then you've got to rebuild again from ground zero. Everything is about building those relationships and keeping everything intact. You never know what's going to happen. That's why social media, it's like, what are your long-term social media plans? Who fucking knows?
Yeah, it's changing so quickly.
There could be a new platform that turns up tomorrow, gets £1 billion worth of funding, literally blows TikTok out of the water, and you know, all the creators that are famous on different platforms suddenly get overtaken by new faces that were just on that app at first. So that's why you just constantly got to be innovating and changing and working on new things, collaborating with different people, tapping into different markets. I always say one of my influencers, he's not really an influencer, he's more of a rapper, he's pursuing music really hard, and I always say to him, okay, find yourself somebody who does really good streams in Brazil that doesn't have an idea how to make social content, and collaborate with them. Let's fly to Brazil, let's make content with them, let's gain that audience. Let's go to Spain and work with a Spanish rapper so that we can tap into that audience. Collaborating is key, and that's where you can build these relationships. The same way as entrepreneurs, we're coming to events like this to meet other entrepreneurs and see if there's ways that we can work together. As a creator, it's the same thing.
Perfect. Guys, pleasure to have you.
I was about to say, on that note, that's a great note to finish. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you, mate. Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah.